Hello, hello. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It is currently 9:09 p.m. Night Movie Gang. I'm your host, LC, and I'm here with my good friend Deepti. Say hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Evening it is. It's been. I feel like we've had the last few episodes have been a string of like midday episodes. This is the first proper nighttime Midnight Movie Gang in a while. And today we're talking about Sam Raimi's Quick and the Dead. Oh, before we get into the movie specifically, if this is your first episode of Midnight Movie Gang, this is a podcast where we talk about kind of cult classics, lesser known cinema, science fiction, horror is kind of like the mainstays. And this movie definitely falls into the category of cult classic. As far as like, I consider myself a pretty big movie buff, and until you mentioned it a few episodes ago, I had not fucking heard of it. So, this is definitely the kind of movie that I want to highlight on the show because just looking after I watched it, I just like did a quick look on Wikipedia, just like about the production of it, and this movie was a pretty big flop.
Yeah, which is like crazy considering like how stacked both like the cast and I guess like the director would become.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I feel like my guess is they probably promoted this movie as way more of like a traditional kind of Western, which, I mean, as far as the story goes, it kind of is, but the execution of it is what makes it really stand out. And it's like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to do a Western nowadays unless you have aliens or something in it.
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I imagine the 90s were like super friendly to the genre. Plus it's like I want to say it's Sam Raimi's first big movie in Hollywood. I'm trying to think if he did anything between that and Evil Dead.
well, Evil Dead 2 had already come out, and Evil Dead 2 was kind of was somewhat of it. This was pre Spider-Man. I know that for sure. This was post Darkman. Yeah, one second. Yeah,
Okay,
post
so I
Army.
guess
Post
Darkman
Army.
would be his other like I guess Hollywood breakthrough besides the Evil Dead movies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he already had the Evil Dead trilogy out, so like he was a relatively well known name, and as far as like, I think he was a pretty good pick for this movie. But before we get into kind of the specifics of how we feel about this movie, because I don't know how much you like it or not. I know you're. Tell me your history with Sam Raimi in general. First time you saw this movie, how you feel about westerns, kind of your background going into this movie, Deepti.
Yeah, so I mean, I really like Sam Raimi. I don't think that's a hot take. I would want to say he's one of my favorite directors, but I think I've got like one or two blind spots in his filmography that I'd want to account for. But I mean, I really like his directing style. I think the Spider-Man trilogy might be my favorite trilogy in film. Period.
Oh
Uh,
wow, that's high
yeah,
praise.
yeah, and this is coming from someone that likes the Ocean's 11 trilogy like too much. So there you go. But yeah, I like him. I think he's got a fun sense of humor, fun style. Um, I'm not usually big on westerns. I think I tend to like more spaghetti westerns because those tend to be more, I guess, playful with the format, with the way they shoot things. Like, I think of like how Sergio Leone did his stuff, and that's much more wild with the camera than like I think most traditional American westerns would be. And I think this leans more towards that kind of playful uh, camera stuff and like cartoon character cast.
Yeah, very comic book. I felt very, not just because it's Sam Raimi and he's a little bit known for superhero stuff, but I definitely felt like this very much felt like a graphic novel come to life. Like I could see the panels while I was watching it.
Yeah, yeah. With like you can definitely see like I remember reading somewhere that he kind of got a lot of his visual inspiration from like the pulpy comic books he would read as a kid, like Doctor Strange and stuff. So like that definitely comes through here.
Yeah, that definitely tracks. I saw definitely a lot of flavors of this movie, and I'll get into my history of Sam Raimi in a minute. But like, while I was watching this, I was thinking a lot about The Harder They Fall. Which have you seen The Harder They Fall on Netflix?
I don't think I heard of that.
It's one second. I'll bring up it. So The Harder They Fall. It was a western. I want to say it came out 2021, more recent than I thought. Starring Jonathan Majors. It's probably why you haven't heard of it. It's because I'm assuming they stopped promoting this movie as much when everything happened there. But it's like a new western, and kind of the selling point of it is that it's like it's a predominantly black cast, like the entire movie. Like if you look at the cast here, like you can see that. Um, and that movie also has like a kind of an exaggerated, like hyper real kind of comic booky vibe going on, like with a lot of the camera work and a lot of how they execute the visuals. And I definitely like watching this. I was like, oh, the people who made the Harder They Fall definitely looked at this as like a core source of inspiration, just for like the different character types and like the way they shoot things. Yeah, no, it's definitely that's a good one to check out. That movie kicks ass. I highly recommend it. I'd like to do an episode on it one day. But yeah, I can talk a little bit about my history with Sam Raimi. So yeah, grew up with the Spider-Man movies, loving those movies. I didn't know who Sam Raimi was necessarily until in high school. I saw The Evil Dead, and like around that time I started really kind of getting into movies and like people who make movies more properly. I loved the Evil Dead movies the first time I saw them. Evil Dead 2 is just one of my favorite movies of all time ever. It was like in my Letterboxd top 4 for a long time. I was gonna say, after watching those movies and going back and rewatching the Spider-Man movies, I can totally see why they chose Sam Raimi to make those movies, because I feel like Sam Raimi rides the line really well between making something that is like a really goofy, cartoonish, like outlandish stuff, but combining it with like really hard-hitting moments that kind of knock you back into reality.
Yeah, that's what kind of came to mind during when I was rewatching this time, was like, because you look at the Evil Dead movies and like I think they do lean more into like the cartoon horror of it, and then you look at Spider-Man and it's very sincere with the dramatic moments, and this seems to kind of be a bridge between him starting to like take his story more seriously as like a dramatic emotional piece while still, still being kind of a silly guy.
Yeah. No, there was some intense story beats in this movie for sure. Yeah, no, and Sam Raimi, like always has been, just like one of my top guys, like in terms of that, in terms of so the last episode that we recorded, it comes out as of we're recording tomorrow, our Alien Romulus episode. We got into a big discussion about vibe movies and how like vibe, like in terms of like, when I say a vibe movie, I mean like a movie where like the plot and story and characters are secondary to like the more technical aspects of the movie, and kind of the more like like the things that like you're kind of supposed to feel while watching, not necessarily like understand. And I feel like there's been a trend in movies, and like a trend in like what gets popular, as far as like it's a vibe movie. It might have like a super simple story, or a story that's a little bit hard to follow, but the energy is kind of there. And I feel like a lot of these kind of like lesser known movies, like these kind of cult classics, start to come about because I feel like the current generation of movie viewers are kind of searching for the vibe film, as opposed to like something that is like super kind of concrete and traditional. And I feel like this definitely falls into that category, or like it could be me reading into it a little bit too much.
No, I mean like Sam Raimi, like I would call him a very like visual centric filmmaker as opposed to like, you know, being more of a straightforward storyteller. So I would file Raimi down as like a vibes filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like I mean, I don't want to like generalize too much about like the movies these days, but I will say that I feel like, a lot of production is much more visually sterile, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to like especially go back and see something that is a lot more adventurous with how it's shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that takes like a lot more risks in terms of how they decide to shoot everything, for sure. Did you slight side note? Did you see Alien Romulus yet?
I did not. I probably should, cause like I guess I have seen all the Alien movies.
Gotcha. Something about it just not interest you, or you're not like a Fede Alvarez fan?
I was like, because I think I remember watching all the Alien movies with you on stream back in quarantine, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think it's like a bad series necessarily, but it didn't like, I don't know,
It's
it
not,
never truly grabbed me.
it's not one that's got its hooks in you as much as the others. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I get you. I recommend going to check it out. Like I loved it, and people at home, if you want to hear my specific thoughts on it, check out our episode of Alien Romulus right before this one. Um, But yeah, no. Let's start breaking into the plot of this movie. So it opens up, and a stranger rolls into town, or more specifically, it doesn't say it here, but it opens up with like a cowboy protecting his treasure, like his like caravan has like broken down or whatever. Um, and then this gunslinger in this movie, only referred to as the lady, kind of rolls up and knocks him out and takes his shit, if I remember correctly.
I
Um,
think, yeah, I can't remember if it was like kind of a booby trap thing that she shoots her way out of, or if she's just straight up robbing him. Which,
yeah, if I remember correctly, she like he's trying to shoot her and she like just outwits him.
yeah,
Um, and it's a very cool. Another movie it made me think of as far as movies I've been watching recently is Cowboys and Aliens, which we have the commentary for up on the Patreon. Um, as far as like that movie also opens up with like somebody getting like somebody in a bad situation that just like in the middle of the desert and whoops their way to success. But yeah, no, this character played by Sharon Stone in this movie, which for the whole time during this movie, and this might just be my association. You've seen Holes, right?
I have not actually.
Oh
I know the
damn.
general gist of it. They dig holes.
Yeah, yeah, they do dig holes. Well, in that movie, there's a plot line with like a lady cowboy type deal, and played by Patricia Arquette. And the whole time while watching this movie, I'm like, oh, it's Patricia Arquette as this lady cowboy,
Huh.
and like, nope, it's Sharon Stone. What do you think of this character? And like maybe like we can springboard into talking a little bit about like how you think Sam Raimi handled having pretty much. I mean, there are a fuck ton of characters in this movie, but I would say that she's essentially Sharon Stone's essentially the main character of this film. How do you think Sam Raimi handled this character, like the fact that she's a woman in this environment and how they use that? Any initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like overall, I like her. Like, I mean, it's like it's a movie with the where the protagonist is like a cool lady cowboy. Like, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, you know? It's like I think she's like a good character and not too patronizing. I do kind of have trouble with her characterization in the sense that like I think she initially shows up and you get the impression like, oh, she's like a badass, like, you know, like Clint Eastwood type, but a girl. And then like you get more into her backstory and you see like, you know, her emotional vulnerabilities and flaws as a character, and that's where I think it feels a bit inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if this is more in the performance or the way it's written, but I think like the way Sharon Stone plays like her like unwillingness to kill or her hesitation and fear almost seems like over exaggerated to the point where it feels inconsistent with like the rest of her vibe. Like, and it
Yeah.
feels almost like almost patronizing the way she's like so scared of, you know, killing. Like, because it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna have this female character that's like a huge badass, but she's too scared to shoot people, which I think is an okay motivation, but I think it could have been executed better.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they needed to have, I don't know, some kind of like extra reason why she's like so hesitant to kill people. I mean, like in this world, in like I like when we get to the scene where like she gets into the duel where like Gene Hackman is telling her to kill the dude and she's like so held back. I was confused because I'm like, oh, she hasn't killed people up to this point. Like her character, at least how it's portrayed in most of the first half of this movie, feels like somebody who would have already killed multiple people. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
like, and the thing is like, we find out at like through the flashbacks, which I guess we can explain later, that like she has killed people, and like that's why she doesn't like killing,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, I guess makes sense as motivation. But like, have you? So
Mm-hmm.
you know how like in Finding Nemo, how they have like that flashback at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm. To
So like,
Nemo's mom and shit.
yeah, I don't know if you knew about this already, but apparently what they were initially going to do was like have those flashbacks like play in parts throughout the movie. So like you start with Marlin and Nemo and you're like, "Oh my God, why is this Marlin guy such a nervous wreck?" And like by the time you're at the end of the movie, you get to the end of the flashback and you're like, "Oh, this is why he's such a nervous wreck." But like when they tested that version of the movie, like he just came off as a very unsympathetic character. They're like, why is this guy so weird? And then you don't find out until the end like why he's like that. But if you
Mm-hmm.
just like when they just like front loaded the movie with that flashback, then you understand his whole deal. Then it becomes more sympathetic, which
Hmm.
I think like the twist itself in The Quick and the Dead is fun, but I think it would have served her character more if we knew what her whole deal was initially.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like it doesn't make me as mad as something like in your Finding Nemo example because there are so many other characters to follow with like a lot of other shit going on. Like I feel like as far as like who kind of has a story in this movie, I mean like how do I put it? I thought she I thought the performance was good and her character was interesting, but there were definitely other characters in the movie I definitely was more invested in where their plot was going to go, and part of it might be a little bit of bias on my like for example like um Gerard Butler's like fucking vow of nonviolence like
You mean
priest
Russell Crowe?
Russell Crowe. What did I say? Russell Brand.
You said Gerard Butler.
Gerard Butler. I confuse
Neither
Russell.
word.
I refused. I confuse Gerard Butler and Russell Crowe in my brain all the time. One's Gladiator, one's Leonidas.
That's a fair.
Uh,
That's a fair assumption to make.
they're both like square-looking white men, you know. Um, but fucking like I'm a big fan of like the character who's the biggest badass in the world, who like used to be the biggest badass in the world. Like that's a character trope that very much works for me. Like even down to like you just see like in it's cool because like I don't know, I like the suggestion of like it's more interesting to see this character at this point in their life when like they've done all the crazy badass shit, but they still got some bad like when he was like flipping around the gun in the gun shop just like a million ways, just feeling it and stuff.
Oh,
Just
that was sick. The oh my
yeah,
god, the bit in the gun shop where like he's pulling out all the guns and showing them off, and it's like I swear to God, he's shooting it like he's having like drug withdrawals because he keeps staring at the guns and they're like shining and shit.
exactly. He's like pacing back and forth while baby DiCaprio is just fucking describing all these guns in excruciating detail, and fucking Russell Crowe looks like he's about to fucking burst. Oh god,
He's a
it's so
really
good.
good character. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's it's a very good ensemble movie. There's a lot of really fun character types to play with. I don't think there's one where I'm like, I mean, if they're evil, it's like a fun evil. I can't wait to see them get beat up.
Yeah. All the characters are pretty interesting to me. Like all the ones they focus on, they decide to have interesting motivations. I did not fucking expect to see Baby DiCaprio in this movie.
Yeah, this is like I
Fucking
think this is like before he got famous. Famous.
is this? Oh yeah, this is definitely pre-Titanic.
Yeah.
Because what is it? 1995. Yeah, Titanic was 2 years later. So, yeah, no, he's a baby. The moment he runs, I think he's great in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Just gives like a great, just like fucking trying to live up to his daddy's name. But further on the plot, during sign up. So yeah, so we get introduced to a bunch of new like kind of cowboy trope characters. Lance Hendrickson is in here as kind of like a legendary outlaw kind of guy. Fucking, there's so many. It's hard to get. There's a guy named Scars who fucking cuts himself every time he kills somebody. Like who else is this fucking? There's just so many.
I like
Uh,
Tobin Bell is in like what 2 shots, but I was like, oh my god, that's Tobin Bell, which was crazy.
it's fucking Jigsaw. Yeah, he doesn't have a huge role in the movie. But yeah, so pretty early we get introduced to a lot of these characters through the signing up. Everybody starts signing up for this contest, which is kind of like the this movie almost. Sorry, I'm adjusting. This movie almost has the structure of like a tournament movie,
Yeah.
or like strangely enough, I was just rewatching the new Hunger Games the other day, like kind of a Hunger Games setup where like basically there's this challenge, this tournament of basically people dueling, like shooting guns at each other, like in this town, and it's all kind of run by Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor himself, who's having a fucking ball in this movie. Honestly, like he chews up the scenery every scene he's in for me.
Oh, he's so good. He's so damn evil.
Yeah, he's evil, but like how do I put it? He's understandably like he's just like addicted to the thrill of being a dick, you know. Like the way he kind of talks about like killing and like shooting people in this movie is like he's like an adrenaline junkie. you know?
That is kind of, yeah, that is kind of it. Like, I mean, he's not like a sympathetic guy, but you can kind of see how he ticks in a way that feels, relatively realistic for a movie of this tone.
Yeah. Like it's his relationship with Russell Crowe's character is so interesting to me because like throughout the movie he's trying to get he's mad that like Russell Crowe is not being honest with like who he is basically. Like the whole movie he's like you're a killer, like you're fucking you're a murderer, it's in your blood, and like you're denying yourself who you are. And it's like partway through the movie I'm like, yeah, damn, he's right, dude. No, fucking I think I did I say Kurt Russell there instead of Russell.
Oh, you might have. I might have just let that slide. That's on me. I should have caught that.
Kurt Russell could have been in this movie. He could have been
Could've.
one of these characters. So yeah, so it's this contest. There's
Oh
a
yeah.
couple.
You're gonna talk about
No,
everyone
no,
coming
no, no.
in,
Go
and
ahead.
then
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and then Russell Crowe shows up.
Yep, and then Russell Crowe shows up. He gets thrown into the bar. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio flirts with the lady. Um, and yeah, we get introduced to a couple of other characters. There's the Native American gunslinger. What's that character's name? Spotted Horse. Who I thought it was really funny that like his whole character is like he can't be killed. He's been shot like 80 times. And then when it finally did come down to the duel with him and Russell Crowe, it took like fucking 5 bullets to kill him.
Like, is it kind of a racist character? Yes. Is it a really good like superpower for a character to have? Yes.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's really cool. There's, I feel like that is an example of a thing where it's like it shows you how much of a heightened reality that we're in, in terms of like just how super powered some of these characters are. Because in reality, in like a quote unquote more gritty western, like you wouldn't have a guy who could be shot like 80 times and live.
Yeah.
It's just like Sam Raimi having fun with the with bending the rules of this universe. Oh yeah, so sorry, I think I skipped around a little bit. Important detail. I was surprised that the lady and fucking Leonardo DiCaprio slept together. It was shocking to me.
So I think
Um,
like, cause I'm still not sure if that's what happened, cause like it seemed like the insinuation was like he's like, "Oh, haha, we had a great time last night," and she's like, "Nice try. I saw you throwing up outside like the shed or whatever." So like I thought the insinuation was like he's trying to brag about it and she's like, "That it didn't happen, buddy. Like nice try." But like I could be wrong there. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know. The way I read it is that they did. I mean, like she woke up uh basically naked in his dynamite bed, like she wasn't wearing any pants, and like, and also just it made sense as far as like he was saying his whole lead up with her is like, I'm so young that fucking we'll go all night and then I'll go in the morning and kill 3 men, make breakfast, and before you wake up, and like, and that is what happened. So that's the way I read it anyway. I could be wrong. But anyway, a important thing that's introduced in this movie is we get introduced to Chekhov's dynamite. Which as soon as I saw that it was a dynamite bed, I'm like, oh, that's blowing up later. Fucking foreshadowing.
A subtle bit of foreshadowing
Yeah,
from a very subtle filmmaker.
the most subtle filmmaker. Let's see. I think the only character that was really missing from this is like Willem Dafoe as like a super kooky, crazy cowboy, or like a jester, or like a madman or something. That would be fun.
I feel like all the characters have to evenly distribute the craziness among them. You can't have like one guy that's especially crazy. Gotta.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, basically we kind of get into there's a bit of a montage of battles. And kind of like the bulk of the movie is like these the bulk of the movie is these duels between all these characters and like kind of some of the emotional beats that go with them. And we kind of reveal as we go along. We kind of reveal more things about the characters. Like we find out that Leonardo DiCaprio's character is the son of Gene Hackman's character, and he's trying to basically like get his dad to respect him. Which the way that resolves when Gene Hackman kills DiCaprio's character, he was saying that he wasn't his son, or something. Like I was a little bit confused at that part.
That one, I feel like I got the impression that like, I mean, he's saying like it was never proven that he was my son, but you can tell he kind of has like he's trying to, I guess, talk himself out of the guilt of it.
Oh, okay, I see. Like
That was
he's
the impression I got because he's like, oh, you know, he wasn't technically my son, and I gave him the chance to get out of this. So he's like, I wouldn't say he's mournful necessarily, but he's. I think there's like some level of like, I don't know, regret from his character there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, just trying to like distance himself from having to accept that he murdered his son. True.
Yeah, and
'Cause,
like again, it's like him being a much more grounded villain than just like a cartoon bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess just with like the treasure trove of characters, are there any particular characters that like stand out to you as ones that like you would like to see like a spin-off movie or something made from, or like a tie-in prequel graphic novel or something? Like, what are some of your favorite characters in this movie?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, I like. Hmm. That's like. Oh, that's a really tough question because I like Sharon Stone. I like her outfits. I like that she is a cool cowboy. I do like Russell Crowe's like place in the story. I'm not sure if I'd be as interested in him as a protagonist. Like, I think he's a good character, but like seeing him carry his own plot might be strange. I don't know. What do you think? Do you have any characters you'd like to see more of on their own?
Um, yeah, I really dug. I think I dug the idea of Russell Crowe's character more than him himself, because I agree. I feel like that concept doesn't have a lot of depth to carry its own movie or to be its own thing. Um, but as a side character, I do think he's really interesting. Um, I feel like I could definitely do with like maybe a prequel about about John Herod, Gene Hackman's character.
Mm.
Because I like how layered of a villain he was. Like, I was talking to somebody recently about this, how like we're kind of getting back into the realm of like villains in movies just being assholes, as far as like for a while, kind of like you look at like Marvel movies, or like kind of just like the kind of big budget movies that have come out. Every villain has had to be like relatable in some way, or like there has to be like a
Like justification.
exactly, like some kind of justifiable reason for them doing what they do. And like part of it might be the fact that ever since in a violent when I saw In a Violent Nature, I've been going back and watching like slashers and kind of like older horror films and stuff. And the there's something really like, lack of a better word, like cinematic, or something really kind of like, I don't know, really attractive to me about like villains who are just evil for the sake of being evil, or like villains that just like, someone like we our last episode we did how Hannibal Lecter is literally just a monster.
Mm.
Like, he's just a demon of a man, really. And you can like go into all of these like psychological backstories about like how he became that way, but at the end of the day, he's like straight up just a monster. And I feel like Gene Hackman's character in this movie is really interesting because he is a monster. He is kind of just like just an asshole dick who just really just craves power over everybody. But he he kind of accepts and understands that like that's in his nature. You know what I mean? And that's something I find really captivating about him, is like he's not doing what he's doing like just for the sake of the plot. Like, he's doing what he's doing because that's just what drives him, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I get that. I like, for me, I think I tend to like villains that like aren't necessarily justified either, but like have some kind of internal psychology that's at least like readable to the viewer, which I think is also the case for Gene Hackman's character, where it's like he is like definitely an evil piece of shit, but you can like yeah, you can see how the gears in his head are turning.
Yeah. I think Joseph had put it one way, that it's more important to understand why a character does what they do rather than like relate to it.
Mm.
Because like a lot of characters in movies, like villains, relatable villains, like I feel like most people just wouldn't do the things they do, but as long as you get why they do it, that'd be the case.
Oh,
Anyway, so
also, sorry, going back to your question about spin-offs, you scrolled down to the cast list, and I just remembered Keith David as that gunslinger. He
oh
was
yeah,
so cool. I really wish he was in the movie more.
he was so sick. I recognized his voice before I saw him. Yeah, he got killed off too early. Um, I thought that he was gonna play Bass Reeves when I saw him. Yeah, no, he was like really cool. The fact that the whole town hired him. Yeah, he was sick. I didn't know what when we first saw him, he was like doing some kind of I guess I'm gonna understand better on a rewatch because like he's doing some kind of deal like in a back room, but I guess it was a deal to kill Gene Hackman. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, he was like the he's like the bounty hunter that they hired to enter the competition, and then Gene Hackman kills him anyway.
Yeah. All fucking. Did you watch Community at all?
I've seen a few episodes.
Have you seen the Western paintball episode?
I have seen those.
I think they literally stole this plot line in that because in that they hire a bounty hunter to come in and like end the paintball game. Yeah.
Wow, they really know their stuff on that show.
Exactly. The Russo bros just really went deep on that one. But yeah, how does this kind of movie end? Were there any of did you have a favorite duel in this movie amongst all the duels?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think about the ones that we went through. I did really enjoy the duel between the kid and Gene Hackman. That's just like a good character moment for the both of them.
Yeah. It kind of feels like yeah. I thought it was sad that Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he didn't really get his piece. You know?
Yeah.
He didn't get the respect from his maybe father that he wanted.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy too that because like Leonardo DiCaprio is like, oh my god, I just want my father's respect, and like his father doesn't give a shit about him, but he does want to see Court kill.
Indeed. He does want to see. Wait, you said he wants to see Court kill him? Oh no, Court.
Yeah,
I get what you mean.
Sorry, he wants
Like-
to see Russell Crowe kill him or kill anybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wants to see him bring out his like inner killer, inner monster. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel like a part of what I like about I'm a big fan of bad guy turned good, I guess, just as the Zuko's of the world, you know. That's a trope that I'm a big fan of. See, one of my favorite duels. I thought that the Court versus I mentioned it earlier, but the Court versus Spotted Horse duel was had some good tension action wise because the dude just wouldn't die.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm also probably my favorite duel. Now that I mentioned it was probably Gene Hackman versus was probably Gene Hackman versus what's his name versus Keith David. And just kind of the reveal that the town hired the bounty hunter, and then I really liked Gene Hackman's speech after that, where he basically just doubled down on like him dominating the town, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, and also, I guess I'm just naming all the Gene Hackman duels now, but like the one at the beginning he has with Lance Henriksen, the ace guy, where he's like, "Well, was that you at that one shootout where you killed such and such brothers?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was me." And Gene Hackman's like, "Nah,
No,
it was me.
it
I was
wasn't.
there."
Exactly. Calling you out in your bullshit. Yeah, no, that was a really good one.
Stone cold.
Yeah, I really liked Lance Henriksen's like character design in this movie.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's to the point where I didn't recognize him at all in this. One second, Quick and the Dead. Want to remind myself, bringing up his. Yeah, he's kind of got like a Zorro kind of thing going on. Sort of like the Zorro, Jack Sparrow kind of like.
The showman, I guess.
Yeah, like the showman kind of looked like a real flashy kind of look. Yeah, no, definitely the Halloween costume I'd want from this movie for sure. Yeah, so let's see how this movie kind of ended. Love finds back on himself. Am I reading the right one? Oh, this is the Harder They Fall. I was about to say. I'm looking at the Harder They Fall wiki. But let's see. Yeah, this movie. How did you feel about the the ending with the dye in the pocket and the faking the lady's death and all that. Like, did you, when you first saw this movie, did you catch like all the hints for that twist coming, or like were you set off guard, or you what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
Were you
caught off
caught off
guard.
guard? Yeah,
I think I
I
remember
can't
being
I
caught
can't
off.
think tonight.
Understandable. I remember being caught off guard by it, but like in general, I'm really bad at catching plot twists. So I don't know. Did it come off as obvious to you?
Not initially. I think I didn't catch on the fact that she was asking the blind kid for ink. And the idea that maybe it could be red ink. I'm just like, oh, is she trying to write a letter to somebody? Is she gonna like write a letter to Gene Hackman and tell him to stop killing people?
Yeah, I think like because when Russell Crowe like fake shoots her and you like kind of see the ink stain on her shirt, I feel like it's almost kind of vague. And then you have that shot towards the end of the blind kid pouring out the ink. So it's nice that they clarify that a bit more later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. In retrospect, they kind of give you all the hints. Now, I think upon repeat, I definitely want to give this movie a better presentation, because like I watched this like in the middle of it. My favorite time to, this is kind of separate from the movie. Do you have a favorite time of day to watch movies?
Mm. I mean, okay, so assuming it's like a weekend and I can like, it's not like a scheduled thing. I I do like the kind of morning afternoon movie because I'll like, yeah, I'll watch it and then I'll like coast off that energy for the rest of my day. I kind of like, because I feel like a lot of the time you watch a movie and that's like a signal that it's the end of the day. So watching it first thing in the morning is like, wow, and now I have the whole day ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
very
I
much
think.
setting the vibe of like, I'm gonna be chilling all day today.
Yeah, I don't know. I think nighttime is my pure watch movie, or I guess I think I just need like darkness. Like I don't know, just the when it yeah when it's nighttime, I can at least kind of like be more absorbed into the movie. And I guess it's also a case of like the kind of movie it is, as far as like if it's like for example, me and Courtney just watched this during dinner. We watched this like a Netflix comedy called Incoming, and it's just like a dumb teen comedy. It was fun, but that's the kind of movie that I would watch during the day. As far as like it's not really cinematic, quote unquote. Um, but a movie like this, where there's kind of more like larger scale things, there's more kind of what's the word? Like the movie doesn't have a sense of realism. I want to watch it in the dark and at night, and
And
I
get
don't know, just
absorbed
like
into its world.
exactly get more absorbed. And I kind of want to, and even down to like, I feel like I would be way more absorbed into this movie on the projector.
Mm.
As far as like we have a we just have like a white sheet we put up in our second bedroom. We do projector movie night where we'll just watch stuff, and like I've noticed especially when in the last few months when we've been watching the Sam Raimi movies, like when I watch them on the projector, they just hit different. You know, like I'm very much transported there. You know.
No, that's real. It is interesting you mentioned that because like I do normally turn off the lights in my room when I'm watching a movie at night, but like this time I was like this feels like a lights on movie for some reason. Like not to disrespect it. I think it might also just be that I've seen it twice before now, so I like, I'm more comfortable with it. I don't need its I guess I'm not as
Yeah.
likely to get sucked into it the third time, but like I don't
Yeah.
know, it feels like more of a casual vibe for me. Like I'm just chilling with all my homies and Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of that wonder is worn off. That's fair.
Yeah,
And then yeah, especially when it
not to
comes.
say it's I dislike the movie necessarily. This might be the most I've liked it of all my three watches so far.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying like the sense of like freshness. Like you can only watch a movie one first. You can only watch a movie for the first time once. You know.
That's true.
Um, yeah, and then definitely any kind of horror movie, if like creepiness or tension is any kind of vibe, I gotta watch it at night.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I can't watch Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, like at 10 a.m. Couldn't be
Yeah.
me.
I know that like the first time I saw Blair Witch Project was like I made sure to watch it like in the middle of the night on my laptop because like if I'd watched it during the daytime it would not have hit whatsoever.
Yeah. After this record, I re-downloaded Alien Isolation. After rewatching Romulus, I re-downloaded it today, just because ever since Romulus came out, and ever since I saw it, all of my content, like TikToks and Instagram, I just keep seeing people playing Alien Isolation, and God damn it, it's so hard for me to play that game.
I mean, like I don't know too much about it. I hear it's scary as shit.
Yeah, it just turns my anxiety up to 11. Like it's just so hard to. It's just like I've tried to start playing that game like 5 or 6 times now, and as soon as the alien shows up for the first time, I'm like, nope, can't do it. Just
This
takes
is
me out of
like
it.
this is kind of the thing for me is like I think I have a pretty good stomach when it comes to like horror movies, but like horror in video games is like such a no-go for me. Like as soon as I'm personally involved in the situation, it's impossible for me. I can watch it happen to someone else, but
Exactly. Yeah, it puts me too much. I also think there's an element of something about a horror game is that I cannot in horror movies. I feel like as far as jump scares and things like that go, like in a movie it's going to be telegraphed. Like there's going to be something that is going to insinuate that like a jump scare is coming. Like there's going to be a sudden silence or there's just like a build up. Whereas in a game or a game like Alien Isolation, the alien can literally be anywhere around the fucking corner. So like there's I can't like I have to stay in that mode of like, oh, something's gonna happen the whole time, and that's just that's just too much tension. Yeah. But I don't know, I'm still gonna play it. We're gonna do and this is actually part of my excuse to play it. The reason I brought the capture card is that we're gonna do some let's plays for the podcast of Alien Isolation, where Joseph will be over my shoulder while I'm playing, and I'll actually be able to play it this time.
that's
With
good. I feel like it'd be a much more reasonable experience with company.
Yeah, I might just in general like hit up the some of our discords and tell people like, hey, anybody want to watch me play Alien Isolation so I'm not scared. Um, or some other games now. Now that I got the capture card, maybe I'll hop on with No Man's Sky. But anyway, it's not this kind of podcast. Yeah, so we kind of talked about the ending.
This would make a good fighting game. That's a tangent, but
This movie, yeah, fuck yeah, it'd be badass. Uh, that's actually a good way to question. What character, what cowboy would be your main?
ooh, really good question. I'm gonna say Ace.
Yeah,
I feel like his animations would be really fun.
Ace is a good pick, for sure.
What about you?
I think I'd be Court.
Mm.
Would be my main. I wanna have the superpower guy. I just like his vibe, you know.
He's got a good vibe. Oh,
Yeah.
I did want to ask, speaking of Court, about what you thought of the relationship between his character and Sharon Stone's character.
Um, I didn't like when I don't know if you remember the moment where it felt a little bit out of character for there's a moment where he like basically calls her a slut.
Mm.
Where like she like is going over to Gene Hackman's place for dinner, and he's kind of like, what, first the kid, now this, is there anyone in this town you're not attracted to or whatever? And she gets pissed off at him, and like I don't know, it felt very out of character for him because it very much like from the first time they met, it seemed like they both had some mutual respect towards each other, and then him saying that just like felt very off. But I don't
Yeah.
know, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's like, because I think that is like right after like Sharon Stone finds out like, oh, he used to be a bad guy, and then she like temporarily loses respect for him before they like kind of hash it out. But like even then, it feels like a very aggressive thing for him to say, especially as like a priest, and especially as the character where he's like, I'm very remorseful for my actions, but I'm also gonna give you this petty jab really quick.
Yeah. But no, overall, I mean, I appreciate the fact that it wasn't a super typical like romance. Like it wasn't like it wasn't super played out. You know what I mean? As far as it actually made me think of the central like kind of love interest in Lady Snowblood almost, like I saw,
Mm.
because it's a revenge movie. I feel like a lot of these kind of like femme fatale revenge movies, like in the line with like Kill Bill and that, like borrow from Lady Snowblood, and it reminded me of that in the sense that like there is definitely hints at a potential romance going on there, but like the characters, both characters in it, like, you know, have larger things to worry about than like a romantic relationship between them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can see like the mutual respect between them as like human beings before you like see any kind of romantic sparks fly. I will
Yeah.
say, because you watched this on Netflix, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
apparently, I didn't find this out until like the second time I watched it. There's a sex scene between their characters that wasn't in the American version, but shows up in the international versions. And I was like, oh, apparently it's not on Netflix.
Did
Which,
Netflix cut it out?
yeah, which like I think initially Sam Raimi and Sharon Stone decided like it wasn't a necessary scene. They decided to cut it out. So like, I'm inclined to agree with that. I think I like their relationship a lot more in this like sort of limbo state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I
Well,
don't know.
now I just
Would you have liked it more if their relationship was more confirmed on screen?
well now I just got to find that scene. I don't know. I like how it worked in the version of the movie I watched. Freaking was this movie rated R?
I don't remember.
I feel like it was kind of a soft R, if that's the case. I don't know. It depends on how they did said scene. Um, like I feel like nothing was missed from my viewing of the movie, but maybe with that scene, it would have like changed how I felt about the characters in a way. Um, I guess my default answer is it doesn't seem necessary because it wasn't something that I was wanting for at all in the movie. You know.
If I feel like it felt a bit out of character because like her reasoning for it is like 'cause we could both be dead tomorrow, which like feels like a very like sweepingly romantic reason to do it, which feels kind of out of out of character for both like the tone of the movie itself and for the characters.
Yeah, that does seem kind of out of pocket because that's like the teenage boy in Independence Day tried to pull that shit. Like we could die tomorrow. Do you want to die? That like that's the kind of energy it has. You know what I mean?
See, but it's
Um,
Sharon Stone saying it in this movie, so you know, gender roles
true.
flipped. You know, it's
Yeah. So
feminism.
that makes it okay. That makes it
Yeah.
feminism. That's true. Um, but yeah, no. Overall, yeah, no. I really enjoyed this movie. I definitely want to visit it again. Increase my Sam Raimi repertoire. What other Sam Raimi movies? Oh, he did Oz the Great and Powerful.
Yeah.
I like I like that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That sounded condescending. I've heard most people, even ones that are big Raimi fans, not be a fan of that movie.
I only saw it once, and I'm pretty sure I don't think I knew that it was Sam Raimi at the time that I saw it too.
Mm.
But it's like I don't know. I didn't have a lot of faith for it because I'm not a huge fan of the IP, so I didn't really put a lot of salt into it. But yeah, no. I mean, maybe upon a rewatch, I still need to see Drag Me to Hell. I've heard really good things about that.
I need to give
Um,
that another watch. I missed a chunk of the middle, but it is nice to see him like, because he's playing it straight horror, but you still got like some of the Evil Dead goofiness in there.
yeah, the camera work is really the main thing that I see. I need to rewatch Dark Man. I haven't seen that for a long time.
Love
I feel like
Dark Man.
Yeah, Dark Man episode could be good.
Oh, did you
But yeah,
see? I mean, this is another tangent. Did you see any of the Spider-Man re-releases in theaters? I think earlier this year.
I did not go see any of them. I was gonna Spider-Man 2. They re-released it on my birthday, but no, I did not go see it. Did you?
Uh, I got to see Spider-Man 3 in theaters. That was really fun to watch with an audience.
Especially during the what is it? The black suit. Him dancing down the street scene. I bet.
Oh
People
yeah,
were.
there were cheers in the audience. We also got we got applause for the bit where James Franco eats the pie and he says so good. The theater went wild. I went wild.
Yeah, definitely. Those movies have generated some wonderful memes over the years, for sure. Yeah. So I guess we can move on to let's ask the prop question. What prop would you want for this movie?
Yes. You did kind of touch on this earlier, but I do want to claim Ace's whole outfit, or at least the jacket, because that is incredible. Like the embroidery, the tassels on the sleeves. I need it. It'd make me feel so powerful.
That's true. Everything about it is pretty baller. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I guess the only thing I can think of is either maybe one of the barrels of the dynamite, like Leonardo DiCaprio's bed dynamite, or Actually, I want the beat up piece of shit gun that Leo gave Russell Crowe.
Really, not even one of the pretty shiny guns.
Well, no, because he never uses that one. The shitty one's the one that he uses. So.
You wanna be closer to him. I understand.
Exactly. You know, it's got the stuff on it.
Yeah. You'll never wash this hand again.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. Sorry. This has been a quick episode, but it's just talking about one movie here. Yeah, Deepti, thank you so much for coming on to this quick episode of the podcast. Really love having you on.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me an excuse to rewatch this movie.
Yes. Next time, and I think another reason too is might be short is because if we had done this record tomorrow, I'd probably have more to say because I always wait at least a day before I review something on Letterboxd because I really need a movie to like sit with me and I still need to think about it. I'm still definitely like processing this movie.
No, I get that.
Yeah, but definitely.
I think I probably wouldn't have been able to do it if it was the first watch.
Yeah. But yeah, people at home, if you're a Sam Raimi fan, you haven't seen this one, or if you're a fan of westerns in general, yeah, definitely check this out. It's a good one. It's I would say free. I mean, it's on Netflix right now if you have Netflix or access to Netflix. So yes, please go check it out. But yeah, you've been listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It is currently 10 p.m. Night Movie Gang. My name is Elsie Hines, and I'm here with Deepti. And yeah, have a nice night, folks. Goodbye.
So, here we go. There's a number of things with him, and her partner is a horrible murder of Walter Cranston's buddy, and I'm here to hold on. Oh, please tell me where this is going. Please tell me. Sorry, I don't know. How long is it? How hopeless could I got in here? 3 tickets to Albany on 6 o'clock train tonight. For the old thing. Special agent.